It's Heidi Fang, your Vegas Nation podcast host, joined with Ed Graney, our Review Journal sports columnist. And we have the Raiders schedule here in our hands right now, hot off the presses. And we're going to break it down for you, starting with Tom Brady coming down with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to Allegiant Stadium, October 25th, a Sunday night game. Ed, this one is one I think a lot of fans here in Las Vegas would be looking forward to. What do you make of this one, and how do you break it down on the schedule?
Well, I break it down like this. Let's hope Brady, unlike what he did in Tampa, doesn't go into the wrong house here in Vegas. We think he has a house. I don't want him detained. Like him to be at the game on October 25th. The good thing for the Raiders in this sense, they have a bye to prepare for the Buccaneers. That's their bye. Comes during a really tough stretch. We'll talk about that in a minute in terms of their toughest stretch. But look, everyone wanted to know when Tom Brady was going to be in Las Vegas. I think a lot of people hoped, Heidi, it would be the opener. It's not. Drew Brees, not a bad backup. But we now know Tom Brady will be here on October 25th. And I think people will be fired up. And, hopefully they'll be in the stadium. We'll also talk about that. But if they are, it'll be electric.
And I think that's something, again, a lot of fans I looked at Twitter are really looking forward to this one. That and the Kansas City Chiefs, that's one of those games that they're going to face early on here in the season. That could be an area where in the schedule we look at and say, wow, this is a little bit of a tough stretch for the Raiders. But then you look all the way down and you see they have the Jets in December. That's a December 6th game. And then they have the Broncos on January 3rd. Those are both going to be on the road in cold weather, most likely. So when you talk about tough stretches, Ed, where do you think it is here when you look at the schedule for the Raiders?
Well, the other thing we should mention, they have 4 primetime games at Allegiant Stadium. That's a great publicity and marketing for Las Vegas. But as you mentioned, 2 cold weather games late at the Jets, at the Broncos. We know what Derek Carr's done in the cold weather. It hasn't been good. This now gives him a few opportunities late to prove he's better in cold weather. I think they've lost their last 10 when it's 40 or below. They have to be better at that. Toughest stretch I see, Heidi, is beginning at New England on September 27th. Then they go home to Buffalo, really good team, could win the AFC East. At Kansas City, Pat Mahomes, enough said. Then they get the bye before Brady. If they can manage that with 2 wins, this is a very manageable schedule. You and I went to the moon last year in terms of frequent flyer miles with that craziness with their schedule last year. This is far more manageable. There's only 2 road trips of 2 games, nothing longer. And one of those on the back end is the Chargers. So in terms of travel this year, much, much better than last year. I think it's a manageable schedule given what the books think their number is.
Right, and the books do think right now it's about 7.5 as far as total wins on the season for the Raiders. So are you going to take the over on that, Ed?
I take the over. They have to play good. They have to play well. I take the over on the 7.5. I didn't know until I saw the schedule. But like I said, not a lot of road trips back to back. The travel's good. Only 2 really cold weather games, unless something crazy happens weather-wise other places. I like their schedule. I think they can get to 8 or 9 if they play well. If the defense is better as they think it is. If the offense is as good as everyone thinks it is, I would have to go over at this point, Heidi. I think it's a manageable schedule. Tough games, obviously, but I think it's there for them to make a run at a wild card because I do think the Chiefs will win the division. But remember, there's an extra wild card this year, and I think they're going to be in play for that.
All right, let's talk about the new quarterbacks that the Raiders are going to face because there's a ton of them right now. You have Tua, he's going to be with Miami. You have Justin Herbert, he's with the Chargers. Phillip Rivers, not in the powder blue with the Bolts, but instead playing with the Colts this year. You have probably Jarrett Stidham out of New England, and then Bridgewater is going to be with Carolina. They're going to face him in week 1. So this is something where the Raiders are seeing a lot of new faces in their games as they start to face opponents who used to be familiar. You mentioned the Chargers. So do you think Justin Herbert leads this team with an entirely different type of style of offense than we've been used to seeing out of the Chargers?
It's interesting because I think Tyrod Taylor starts the year. But obviously, I think eventually Justin Herbert plays unless they're in first place and winning it, and you wouldn't want to replace quarterback. You don't draft a guy 6 overall and not have him play. I think in at least one of the 2 games, probably the second one, you could say they'll face Herbert maybe. 2 is another guy. I think that the Miami game's late, so by then I would expect Tua to be the starter if he's not injured. You talked about Rivers. His arm was not good last year, the one we saw, and they get him here. Really interested to see the opener, Heidi, when you have Bridgewater, who went 5-0 in replacing Breeze last year. But the key is not Bridgewater. They better tackle Christian McCaffrey on that opening week, or they're going to be in a world of trouble. But if they can do that, that's another winnable game. But yeah, a lot of new quarterbacks. And then here comes Breeze and Brady, Hall of Famers. It's a really good schedule for that. I think the Raider fans should be excited about what they see, who's coming in here especially.
So that'll do it for us here on Vegas Nation. Make sure to head over to vegasnation.com, download the Vegas Nation app, subscribe to the Vegas Nation podcast to keep up with everything happening. We are doing a special podcast 10 a.m. tomorrow. That's Friday, to break down all of this madness with the schedule with Vinny Bonsignor and Adam Hill. So make sure to check everything out that we're doing there with Vegas Nation. For Ed Graney, I'm Heidi Fang. Thank you so much for watching.